Islam, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Osio, Aloha, Hola. This is your brother Tarik Bey, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Once again, please like, share, subscribe to my channel so you're notified when I drop new content. Leave a comment and interact. Thank you. Once again, diving back into Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. It's part 4. Study more, study more. Let's see. First definition I want to go over is vehicle. What exactly this mean? Hopefully it's not blurry. Hopefully it's legible, and you're able to pause or screenshot the page so you have these definitions at hand. But let's see. Vehicle, that in or on which a person or thing is or may be carried from one place to another, especially along the ground, also through the air, any moving support or container fitted or used for the conveyance of bulky objects, a mean of conveyance. Any carriage moving on land, whether on wheels or runners, a conveyance. That which is used as a instrument of conveyance, transmission, or communication. So you always have to remember your so-called automobile, or your vehicle is a conveyance. It's always a conveyance. Use this word over vehicle, over motor vehicle, over car. Use automobile or conveyance, because that's when you're operating with your rights to travel, and they have jurisdiction over other words that they like to use, like motor vehicle. You get what I mean? Next definition: mooring. Morning, okay? Morning. You know how you say like good morning? Let's see. A dress or apparel worn by mourners at a funeral or for a time afterwards. Also, the expenses paid for such apparel. All right, so that's mourning. You know how it is when you mourn for somebody who passed away, somebody who transitioned. So that's why a lot of us don't like to use the phrase as good morning. We like to say grand rising instead, because mourning has to do with association of death. Now we went through vehicle. Now this is motor vehicle. Motor vehicle, in the Uniform Act of Regulating Traffic on Highways, 11 ULA, the similar status, any self-propelled vehicle defined as including every device in, upon, or with such persons or property as may be transported or drawn upon a highway, except devices moved by human or muscular power or used exclusively upon stationary rails or tracks. The term motor vehicle, although sometimes regarded as synonymous with or limited to, see that, pay attention to that. The term also sometimes regarded as synonymous, see sometimes, it's not always, with or limited to automobiles, often has a broader meaning and includes not only ordinary automobiles but also motor buses, trucks, as well as motorcycles. So that's what they want to regulate. They want to regulate automobiles, but there's a difference between a vehicle, a conveyance. You get what I'm saying? So we using conveyances. We're not using automobiles. We're not using motor vehicles. We're using automobiles and conveyances. It's much better language to use. More lawful, I should say. Moslem Law. All right, now, if you ever seen the speech Obama made when he said this country's law was founded on Moslem law, is when he signed different things into law as far as the rights of indigenous peoples, when he was in office. but this is kind of where it derives from. The Moslem law, exactly what it is. One of the two systems of customary law which the English found in India or Hindustan. It regulated the life and resolution of all Muslims, and part of it, especially its penal provisions, were applied to both Muslims and Hindus. See, they found it in India, which was Hindustan, but that's how you know they're Muslims over there. Muslims. Let's keep going. Let's keep it moving, fam. Let's keep it moving. I believe you might have went through this already. Moor, or more legal, the legal sense, an officer in the Isles of Man who summons the court for several sheddings. The office is similar to the English bailiff of 100. Mooring, when you're mooring, in maritime law, anchoring or making fast to the shore or dock, the securing or confining a vessel in a particular station, as by cable and anchor or by a line or chain run to a wharf. That's what it is when it's an action. That's when you're mooring and fastening it. All right. So Monopoly. What exactly is Monopoly? It's not just a board game. It's an actual business term, actual commerce term. Monopoly, what is it? A privilege or peculiar advantage vested in one or more persons or companies, consisting in the exclusive right or power to carry on a particular business or trade, manufacture a particular article, or control the sale of the whole supply of a particular commodity. Now think, what companies do we know fits the bill of this? It's supposed to be illegal here when it comes to like capitalism to have a monopoly on a certain production or service, because it's supposed to be fair trade. But how many companies do we know that actually run a monopoly, that you can only get a certain service or product from them and them alone? Something to think about, fam. Let's keep going. Money. I really wanted to get to this one because I want people to realize exactly what money is. All right. Now, keep this definition in mind. Tattoo it on your brain, because this is something we cannot forget. We always have to hold them accountable for this. Money, in usual and ordinary acceptation, it means gold, silver, or paper money used as circulating medium of exchange. Now, the main thing is it's gold and silver. This paper money does not equate to like money. This like paper, like bills and stuff. Bills were only supposed to be a replacement for this gold and silver. So the money system or the currency was backed by gold and silver, I would say. So you would be able to take a note that you had in your pocket, like a bill, a note, I should say. You would take it to a banking institution and you would give them that, and then they would give you gold or silver, an equivalent for that piece of paper, because that piece of paper marked what it was worth in gold or silver. So the system that we're in, we're using legal tender or Federal Reserve notes, and these Federal Reserve notes are not backed by the security of gold or silver. It says they're strictly just a legal tender, a medium of exchange. So that's what that means when it says paper money as a medium of exchange, and does not embrace. See, it says gold and silver. It usually means gold, silver, or paper money as used as a medium of exchange, and does not embrace notes, bonds, evidence of debt, or other personal or real estate. So when we say notes, I told you, Federal Reserve notes, the bills that we're using now, look straight up like monopoly money because they are. Bonds, banking bonds, birth certificate bonds, insurance bonds, evidence of debt, accounts that say they are in negative, or billing statements, or invoices will be of these things, or other personal or real estate. See, so money, you always have to remember, money, lawful money, is gold and silver only. Okay, let's keep going. I just want to drive that home. Mohammedan law. Now, we went over Moslem law, and it mentioned like the Hindus, and things of that nature in antiquity. So Mohammedan law, a system of native law prevailing among the Mohammedans in India and administered there by the British government. All right, so that's exactly what that is. Next, magistrate, a person clothed with powers as a public civil officer, a magistrate. So just so you know exactly who and what a magistrate is, a magistrate would be like a judge. Like if you go up in a kangaroo court venue or something, a judge. If you get booked or something, that person that you appear in front of, they call them magistrates. Whether or not a policy enforcer tries to charge you with something, you have to appear in front of a magistrate in order to see if those so-called infractions or violations are indeed unlawful or lawful, in order for them to do that. But these people are magistrates, court judge, so-called judges. They're magistrates. The word magistrate does not necessarily imply an officer's exercising any judicial functions, and might very well be held to embrace notaries and commissioners of deeds. So somebody who could potentially embrace somebody who is a notary public, or somebody who commissions deeds of ownership and title. See how it's kind of like broad, how pretty much almost anybody who has some kind of legal or civil power in the public sector would be considered a magistrate. Excuse me. All right. This is another section on motor vehicles. License to operate motor vehicles is a mere privilege and not a contract or property right. So when you're operating with like motor vehicles, like I said, we as free nationals, we use conveyances, we use automobiles, which are connected to law, and operate them in the private sector, not in the public sector, which private property is protected by our Fourth Amendment, our privacy and private property. So when you think of motor vehicles and cars and stuff like that, they want you to have a license to operate those things, which they can mitigate and manage and have jurisdiction over. And it says it's a mere privilege. Privileges can be granted or they can be taken away. And it says it's not a contract or property right. It's not a contract right or a property right. So it means when it's titled with them, when it's registered with them, you're giving up your property rights. You see that? You're giving up your property rights. License, certificate or document itself which gives permission. So whenever you think of a license to do anything, it's giving a permission. In the course of that permission is normally to do something that would be considered unlawful or illegal, illicit. That's why they want to give you a license for it. But there's a lot of rights that we have that don't need to be licensed, that are just rights. But if you operate in the form of, 14th Amendment, corporate status, citizen, you only have privileges. You do not have rights. Okay, let's continue here. Let's continue on. Lawful man. A lawful man, a freeman, unattainted and capable of bearing oath. That's a lawful man, that you could have an oath. You're not held back by any kind of false status, unlawful status, any kind of negative statuses. You can take an oath. You can be someone who's upright, worthy. Lawful money, money which is a legal tender in payment of debts. That would be considered lawful money. Lawful money would actually just be, gold and silver. That's what lawful money is. So you can pay debts. You cannot use legal tender. You cannot use notes. You cannot use bills of exchange to pay for a debt. Only way you can pay a debt is with money, and that's gold and silver. Mediums of exchange, Federal Reserve notes, bonds, credit cards, all that stuff are just bills of exchange, which can be exchanged, like one debt for another, or using like a discharge process. But we will never be able to pay for anything if we're not using gold or silver, to actually pay a debt. It's really just discharging the debt that we do in our normal everyday lives with exchanging those notes, those Federal Reserve notes, for goods, services, things of that like that. That's actually just like debt for debt. Okay. Lawful authorities. Hopefully it's legible. The expression lawful authorities used in our treaty with Spain refers to persons who exercise the power of making grants by authority of the crown. All right, so that's what a lawful authority would, expressly mean. Lawful, just anything with lawful in front of it. It just means legal, warranted, or authorized by the law, having the qualities prescribed by law, not contrary to nor forbidden by law. So anything we put, it's kind of like it's a prefix. You put lawful in front of things in order to show that it is indeed legal, or lawful, permitted, permissible. All right, moving along. Infraction. A lot of people hear about traffic infractions, which are not really like breaking the law, because there should be a corpus delicti, which would mean that there has to be an injured party, a victim, if you will, a person, some type of owner who was injured or whose property was damaged due to your behavior or actions, but not an infraction. It says infraction is a breach, a violation, an infringement as of law, a contract, a right or duty. All right, so that's also an infraction. With traffic infractions means you breached something like a contract or something, which is most likely the DMV, the MVA, the motor vehicle contract that you might have signed when getting a driver's license, a state issued driver's license, which every state is different. Every state municipality is different, which means it could not be one uniform law that would cover them all, which means that's why we have to go back to the right to travel, which is constitutionally protected. And that's a breach, that's an infraction. Infringement, which was also in this, or infringement, very similar. A breaking into, a trespass, or encroachment upon a violation of a law, regulation, contract, or right, used especially of invasions of the rights secured by patents, copyrights, and trademarks. All right, so it's an infringement if somebody if somebody treads upon like your trademark, your copyrights, or something that you have patented when it comes to like business and commerce. That's normally when people think of like infringement, but it's a breaking into or a trespassing or encroachment, a violation of law, and it's usually contract and rights. All right, let's keep moving along here. I'm going to cut this video short. This is going to be the last page I do. I don't want to make the video too long. Let's see. Indian country, as the term as used in the federal statute, as a country to which the Indians retain the right to use and occupancy involving under certain restrictions, freedoms, and actions of enjoyment in their capacities as a distinct people, and cease to be such when their title is extinguished, unless by virtue of some reservation expressed at the time and clearly appearing. See, there's a lot of trick play in this. It's saying that they have to eventually it will be extinguished over time, and it's freedoms within this like certain occupancy, and they have to use some kind of a reservation as a virtue. See, that's BS. So that's how they used to use this term Indian country for so-called unclaimed lands by the crown or by England or Britain, by the colonies, uncolonized land. They would say that's Indian country. It's our unincorporated, unenfranchised land. Indian reservation. See, they mentioned that in there. Don't forget this Indian Depredations Act. Please pause this page, read over some of these legal terms that was used against our people. And when you say it's Indians, you have to think, just replace that in your mind with Moors, us indigenous people. Indian reservation, a part of public domain set aside by property authority for use and occupancy of tribes or tribes of Indians. See, of tribe or tribes of Indians. See how they had to put that in there? Indian title, claim of Indian tribes' rights because of immemorial occupancy to roam certain territories to exclusion of any other Indians. Indian tribe, a separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal Indian race of men found in the United States. We're Aboriginals, but we were definitely not Indian. Those people come from India. This is not the West Indies, from indigenous Aboriginal Moors. So Indians, the Aboriginal inhabitants of North America. We're not Indians. This is not India. This is not the West Indies. We are Moors. But they like to use words like wild Indians, American Indians, which are colorful, created terms that they like to use. So, thank you, tribe, for joining me. Once again, this is your brother Tarik Bey, Indigenous American Moor. Like, share, subscribe to the video. Give me that thumbs up. Thank you once again. Peace. Islam.